Welcome to the Improv London podcast from Chicago. I'm Stephen, this is Iain.
Hello.
And this is week two of the I.O. Advanced. We've just finished up our shows yesterday, and I'm pretty tired. Are you tired?
I am very tired. I found this a lot more tiring than the 5-week one we did last year. It might partly be because we're doing 5 days a week of improv rather than 4. So it's almost like work.
Yeah. I feel like this week in particular, I just learned a lot of new stuff, which up to this point hasn't really been true of I.O. intensives.
Right.
But week 2 with Matt Higbee doing Harold's, he had a lot of different and exciting ways of approaching, particularly openings and games that really challenged me intellectually in a way that was really fun. So, my brain is full.
Yeah, I've had Craig Euler, who...
no wonder you're exhausted.
So he is pretty exhausting to be with. He's a really nice guy, but he's not all sorts of patchouli candles and yoga mats. That's the diametric opposite of Craig. I had him week 4 last year, and he was very energetic there. And once again, we've had a packed week of different ways to approach the Harold and different exercises to get us thinking about stuff in cool new ways, which is kind of why I flew all the way across the Atlantic. If we just done the stuff we did in England, it would all be a bit pointless, I guess.
Yeah. For me, the really interesting thing that we did was different ways into game, group game and Harold. Matt Higbee spent a lot of time on what is a game and what is an opening and how are they different. And I think for me, the thing about game is that you're not exploring anything, you're trying to find a pattern that repeats. And that kind of blew my mind, because last year, in the 5-week intensive, we were taught game as basically a second beat of the opening, which I don't love, just in terms of keeping the energy up and keeping things new and exciting, particularly in the first game slot. So for me, that was like revolutionary. And if it's a repeating action or pattern, it's so much easier to use that game to be playful in the run at the end.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because we're talking about games in between the beats of the Harold, so it's not like game of the scene, which I kind of think of as a pattern.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time on games and openings as well, but perhaps came at it from a slightly different angle. We talked a lot about the difference between group scenes and group games, and kind of it's a bit of a continuum, so you can have games that are kind of sceney and scenes that are kind of gamey. But we were trying to get away from doing scenic ones and do more what Craig called information presentation. And he talked a lot about how a lot of, even at I.O., a lot of teams do stuff that he doesn't consider that good in terms of games. Because the idea is to generate ideas, and some people do a lot of what he called whooshing and chanting, which actually I think Rance might have used that phrase. But you can see teams who either just chant together, which is nice for bonding as a team, I guess, but how many ideas does it generate? Or sometimes people just do a list of things. So if the suggestion was green, they might say, "It is grass." I now can't think of anything else that's green. That's rubbish.
Green Jello.
It is green Jello. It is a green shirt. Yeah. And it becomes kind of listy.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool because it gets you thinking about different areas that word might exist in. But Craig was trying to get us to focus on thinking about the reasons behind stuff. So after you've done a few of those, maybe start using words like because to start things off.
Yeah, cool. I feel like the finding a pattern aspect of the game just works really well for me, because if I think about all the group games I've seen in my life, so many of them are either formulaic, like they're a strategy for dealing with group game where one person initiates something and then everyone else knows exactly what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Or they're just nonsense, whooshing and yelling and running around and like just kind of repeating the exploratory nature of the opening. But I think the idea of finding a pattern organically really clicked, and I really liked that.
I really want to hear more about that, because I think what's going to happen when we get back to Britain is Stephen and I are going to both do a session with the verbs where the rest of us get to hear so I'll get to hear what Stephen's learned and vice versa.
Yeah.
And we're going to cross-pollinate ideas, because I'm not so sure yet about the patterning games. I've got a vague idea, but I've got a feeling there's a lot more depth behind that to hear about. We did this other cool thing on Friday morning, though. We did a thing where we got a suggestion as per normal, and then as part of our opening we were doing a physicality, and then we used the physicality again in the group game, but we used it in a different way.
Ooh.
So physically it was the same, but the stuff associated with it was different. So our suggestion was string. So we started doing some cool stuff around strings and how they vibrate at different pitches and instruments, and we were sort of playing a harpsichord. Harpsichord? Yeah, that is a harpsichord. Sorry, Kit.
Plucked string, good.
Yeah, good, plucked strings. Or it could have been a guitar, and we riffed a few ideas off that about how different tones could indicate different moods and stuff like that, which was quite a nice exploration. And then the first group game, so after you've done the first 3 scenes in the Herald, we did the same sort of hand-wavy motion, but we were stroking pets.
Oh, cool.
And we talked about how pets could sort of calm you down and how sensation, tactileness and stuff. And then we did something else in the next group game as well, again using that same... I don't know why I'm doing the wafting motion here. It's probably not coming across on audio too well.
I mean, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, like pulling on a rope or something. I don't think it was pulling on a rope, but anyway, you know, same physicality, but a completely different area to explore, yet the 3 things were linked.
Yeah.
Which I thought was super cool.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time with game on leading with actions rather than words, because words can turn into lists and explorations, and actions kind of lead you to more fun.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that sounds like a really similar thing between our 2 groups.
Yeah, it's another thing about not just doing lists of stuff that are green.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to think of green things. That was rubbish, wasn't it?
I mean, hey, green's a hard color. It's just plants and stuff, right?
Oh. Yeah, I guess. It does have associations with nature, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or mould. Sorry, we better not do an opening
Your
here.
sacral chakra, I think, is green.
Oh, is it?
That one.
Okay, that's one I didn't know. I heard sacral and I thought that's anatomy. I'm on my home ground here, and then it went all hippie
it went
mystic
hippy
stuff.
very quickly, didn't it?
And I thought, no, I'm out of my depth here. Yeah, so what else have you been doing this week?
I feel like I've been leaning in really hard to the stuff in class, because I just got some great like personal notes and group notes and intellectual food that I feel like I'm going to be digesting for a while. I saw lots of shows too. Did you see lots of shows?
I did. I think I saw a show every night this week.
Nice.
So, what did I see Monday? 3-Peat still aren't on, which is a downer.
Oh.
But I saw something else good instead. I just can't remember what it is. That's rubbish.
We're kind of in that floaty, full of information spot, aren't we?
Yeah.
I saw Glass Basement again on Thursday, which I mentioned last week, and I I think the handful of us who went last week mentioned to everyone that it was great, and there was a huge contingent of advanced attentive people who went to see it, and a lot of us got to go up and play again, which was lovely. I really like just the vibe of that evening.
Yeah.
The performance was top notch, man. There's some great people in that group.
Right.
Alison H from Tricky was in this week,
Oh,
and she's
I love
like
her. Yeah.
possibly one of my top favorites.
Yeah, she's great.
But all of them are super slick and on it and big energy, and it's a mix of people who play regularly at I.O. and people who play regularly at Annoyance and Second City, so that's like, it's really lovely to see different styles kind of thrown together in a lovely and supportive, fast, hilarious set.
That's good. Yeah, I like Playful.
Yeah.
I, on Thursday, could have gone to see that, but I decided instead I wanted to go and see Bill Arnett up at the Bug House.
Nice.
Which meant I got tasked with picking up something for John Kramer from Bill, and then when I got there, Bill wasn't going to be on till 10, so although I got the boots, I was feeling rather tired, but I did see 3 other groups, one who I think are outside the main theatres, and a really nice group called Spitfire. I think there was somebody in one of the other groups who I'd seen in one of the grad shows the other weekend, but I wouldn't swear to it, so... Yeah, it was nice to see something different. I think my favourite show of the week, though, was Deep Schwa last Sunday.
Oh, yeah, that was so good.
Yeah, now this was one of the ones where it's nearly sold out, but actually not because of Deep Schwa. It was the debut for the opening team.
Yeah.
Who did a really cracking show, and they had a lot of their friends in the audience, I think.
Yeah.
But we thought, let's just put our student IDs in and see if we can get in. And we did.
Yeah.
And we were glad.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think both weekend shows that we saw last week. Did you see Chaos Theory as well?
I did. I saw the Deltones and then Chaos Theory. They were both super fun.
Yeah, Deltones, Chaos Theory, Deep Schwa, and just I feel like the weekend is loaded with super good veteran groups. Fridays, like last night, we saw Revolver as well, which is more of a strict Herald team, but again, a third group of really seasoned veterans, and you can see them really playing.
Yeah, I haven't seen Revolver this trip. I saw them last year and they were great. I was sort of wanting to see them last night, but we had our group shows and then we drank alcohol, and I did stay for Musical Armando, but I just thought I need some sleep after this. So I went home. So yeah, Deep Schwa, I mean, I loved Deep Schwa like the previous week, but last Sunday they just seemed to have got an extra injection of adrenaline, and they were so fast and playful. They weren't actually doing a Herald, I found out, because I tend to start off watching shows, seeing how they match the Herald thing, and I got a bit lost with that one. But then we had Craig, who's in Deep Schwa on Monday, and he said it was Beer Sharp Mice, which is the tag-out format.
Oh, nice. The slacker or the just basic device of tagging people as edits?
I'm not clear what exactly slacker is. When somebody described it to me before, and it sounded very much like Beer Sharp Mice.
It is. It's a Beer Sharp Mice format.
Okay. Right, yeah. So, and they were just coming up with games and just reusing them and layering them on top of each other, and just totally fun, and they were all really sweaty and hot. So there was Craig and Jeff Griggs, who wrote the Del Post Guru book.
Yeah.
And Craig told us he always walks through the door and stands at a certain position on the stage, and I thought back and I thought, yeah, he did that. And Brett Lyons, who's super fun as well, who I've seen in various things like World News, plus 3 or 4 other people whose names I don't happen to know. But it really was one of my favourite ever improv shows. It was just so crazy and so fun and joyous, and the sort of improv I want to do. Probably, I wouldn't want to pick between that and Three Peat at their best. They were both phenomenally good shows.
tough. Yeah. I love how particularly the veteran teams just sort of trust themselves in each other and play like they're new to it, which is really good. Do you know what I mean? There's that spark of joy that a lot of mid-level teams, and I'll go ahead and admit probably us as well, lose sometimes because the rules are still kind of clicking over.
You could get tired of doing it and just go through the motions, but they're obviously throwing themselves crazily into it.
Yeah, they've gotten that 10+ year experience second wind where it's easy and fun again.
Yeah, so much fun.
Oh, nice.
The Deltones were great. I'm getting mixed up what was in which show that night because there were several players the same, like Namdi and a few others. But yeah, that was great fun. What else did I see? Saw Virgin Daiquiris. Was that Wednesday? Yes, it was.
Yeah.
They were really good fun. They did have a lot of people in. I think they had 14 people.
Yeah.
Which, I know they had a lot last week because they were calling back old members because it was the 10th anniversary or something. But yeah, and they had Alison from 3Pete, Katie Klein, who I had week 3 last year, but unfortunately I didn't get to talk to her afterwards. Who else? I'm not sure. A few familiar faces.
I didn't see that one, but there are some really good players in that group, and it's awesome to see them.
Yeah, they were super fun. And then it was Carl and the Passions, who, I wasn't wild about. I think they weren't as playful as Virgin Daiquiris.
Yeah. I feel like you and I both go for groups with that playful energy, like 3P and Chaos, very Deep Schwa, Daiquiri and a good night. Yeah.
Yeah, technically it was probably fine, but it just kind of didn't seem as much fun.
Oh man, that is a review I never want on any show.
Yeah.
But probably deserved on that.
Sorry, Carl and the Passion. They did have Noah Gregoropoulos, who's veterans of teams going back to Valhalla and stuff.
Yeah.
He was really fun. They started off a scene, I think it was probably meant to be a 2-person scene, and he happened to walk on at the same time, probably just because it can happen, somebody walks on from both sides of the stage at the same time. So he decided to make him... How did it go? I think he decided to make himself their butler. But then one of them called him Dad. So of course he just goes, yes, I'm your father and the butler.
Nice.
And then he got confused and he walked into a scene with different people. And he was like...
Oh, I suspect that was on purpose.
Maybe it was.
He's cheeky like that.
It was just the line he said. He said, "Oh, I seem to be in the wrong house," and walked out. It showed me think it was an accident. But he's such a veteran. He's just fun to watch.
On Monday night, our mutual friend Akbar was monologist at the Armando.
That's what I saw Monday. I remember now.
Aha!
Yay!
And Akbar is a fantastic monologist. They couldn't not have done a good show based on it,
good.
which is in no way helpful to anyone listening to this looking for show advice because he will not be there. But Noah Gregoropoulos was in that as well, and he did a similar thing where there was an opportunity to be a dog without a spine, and he crawled on, and then anywhere else in the show where a spineless dog could possibly limp onto the stage, he was there.
Yeah.
I think it's like a super fun callback thing he does.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm trying to remember what else they did.
Speaking of, so if there are any dedicated listeners who've been just following these podcasts with deep attention, thinking, what will I do when I go to Chicago? Top 5 I.O. shows you recommend?
3Pete if it's on.
Oh, yeah.
If you're into slow organic stuff, and again if it's on, I'd say TJ and Dave, which is a polar opposite of 3P, but they're both great shows. Are we doing our personal 5? Or?
I'd go personal 5.
Okay, shall I finish mine then? Okay. These aren't in any particular order. Deep Schwa. World News is really fun format. That's 4, isn't it?
Yeah.
Man, I've got to pick between Chaos Theory and Deltones.
Oh.
They're both on the same evening in the same venue, so I won't decide.
Cheater.
I shall yes and the two of them.
Nice. I think for me, if you're an improv nerd, which 20 minutes into this podcast you almost certainly are.
Well, 6 episodes and 20 minutes into this podcast.
I would go actually 3 peaks: Deep Schwa, Chaos Theory, Virgin Daiquiri, and Revolver to go see, Glass Basement to go play, because they're both really, really good. I'm not going to put TJ and Dave on the list, because nobody needs to be told about TJ and Dave.
That's a very good point, and if they're not playing, that justifies my 6th pick. Revolver, I'd forgotten Revolver, they'd be my 7th pick. So having justified having a 6th pick and then found a reason why my 6th pick wasn't my 6th pick, I can now have a 7th pick, which is actually the 6th pick. There we go. And that's not including other theatres as well. I think you've been to a few more venues than me.
I've gotten out there a bit. I think the really nice thing about going and seeing Chicago Improv is it's wildly diverse, and kind of every theater and style has been around long enough that there are veteran players of that style at that theater, and you can go see someone who's really sunk into it for a long time. Because I think London is kind of at that point where we have different theaters and different styles. We have a handful of improv veterans, but we don't really have definition, and you can't go and see veteran experienced improvisers every night in London.
No,
you have
that's
to kind of follow with great excitement the handful of groups that contain them.
Yeah.
And stalk them.
Yeah. That's very true. I mean, there's other shows on, like The Annoyance will have Messing with a Friend with Susan Messing. Who could miss Susan Messing? Well, me this time, actually, because I saw her last time in Molière.
Yeah.
And there's probably new stuff.
Second City.
Second City as well has a
Monday
show.
night has an improv show that Rachel Mason's usually in, and she's phenomenal.
Yeah, I love Rachel. Did a week with her and Susan a few years ago. Great improvisers and really good teachers too. If you want more improv on your days off, there's the musical Improv Jam.
Yeah, that's nice. It's free, which is very exciting if you've flown all the way here on the budget.
Yeah, sure. That's at Second City at 4 p.m. in the DeMat Theatre. Hour and a half, all for free. And you don't need to have done your musical improv before, and it's super fun, and I'm going off there afterwards.
Nice. Cool. What else do we need to do? That feels like, we haven't mentioned anything about Tupperware.
We haven't.
Actually, this is only tangentially related to Tupperware, but I feel like 6 episodes deep, it's 7 episodes deep.
7 episodes
It's
deep.
impressive that we're still on the Tupperware.
We're still on
thing.
Tupperware. Hang on. Tupperware Corner.
Trader Joe's this summer, and I'm going to go ahead and guess other summers, has giant, really sweet watermelons for like $2. And watermelons are super expensive in London, especially for a nice one. So my Tupperware advice is go buy a giant melon and or a giant papaya, which are also beautiful and cheap, and chop it up and keep it.
In Tupperware.
You'll be very, very happy.
Yeah. I'm actually really glad we did Tupperware Corner again, because I bought a Tupperware container over with me, and I won't go into what it was all for and stuff, but I've just realised I haven't packed it, and I think it's probably gone under the bed in my Airbnb. So
You're
I
welcome.
need to pack it. So thanks, Tupperware Corner. be what else? We normally do more than this, don't we? Should I get the list?
Shows, classes, what you've seen, what you've learned.
Oh, we talk about next week. Next week
we don't have a next week.
We don't have a next week at IO.
I'm just going to curl up and die.
We're going to curl up and die.
That's a lie. Next week, I'm from the 1st to the 7th of July co-directing and hosting, teaching in Zeal, the Pride Festival in London, and there's some great things there. If this episode happens to come up before then, I warmly recommend myself.
Yeah.
And everyone else in that festival.
Yeah.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's that in that socket over there? It's a plug. No, that should be good. I've seen the listings. There's some I should be attending. I'm not quite sure which night, all nights, but probably more than one, I think, because it looks great fun. IO did a nice thing last weekend. They did a Pride, because there's a Pride month in Chicago.
Yeah, it was the festival last weekend. I think this weekend is the parade, and because it's America, people have sort of cottoned on to the commercial opportunities, and you can buy rainbow-colored just about everything in Chicago right now. It's mostly pleasing.
Yeah, they had some... Did you go and see the drag thing?
I didn't.
Oh.
No, everyone else was hanging out elsewhere, and I'm very much a social creature.
Okay. Yeah, they had this kind of... it was called Queer Through the Years. I'm not quite sure if all the speakers stuck to the topic or whether I just misinterpreted it. But it was people's tales of their first time.
Oh, nice.
Which was rather cool, because one of the guys from my section last day was telling a story.
Oh, the tall guy, Marcus.
Yeah, Marcus. I mean, we said we need to meet up, because he's local. But we hadn't arranged it, and then he was in for that, so it was perfect. So, yes. So that's 4 people, actually 5 if you count Emily Murphy, but I don't really count her. That's 5 people from my section last year who I've seen since last year.
Nice.
I'm only not counting Emily because she's in London. It seems like it's cheating. So I saw Marcus and Marilyn at IO, and Agnieszka and Ruja came to London.
Nice.
We did a meet-up.
5 people from my group came back, so I matched you with no effort at all.
You do, yeah. That made it rather easy because there's nobody who's in my section back again for the advance, but we had some. I mean, I knew all the people from Stephen's section, and there were a few other people who I recognised, like Jill.
Yeah.
Well, I knew, and some great new people. So.
I think the reason so many people from my section came back is because we all bonded really well as a group and just really liked each other, and therefore we had a really good experience last summer.
Right.
I think other people's experiences varied wildly depending on how well their group got on. So my one bit of advice is go out of your way to make friends with your group if you come and do this.
Yeah, my section last year were really close. Or I felt we were. We seemed to bond really quickly. It's like we seemed to be going out for meals every day and drinks and stuff. But yeah, I know some other groups didn't get as close. So yeah, but I'm the only one who came back from my section.
That's odd.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people would have liked to, but money and stuff.
Oh.
How did you find your section this time? The people you didn't know.
I was lucky to know the majority of them
True.
Before we started. I think this year's section, because we've all been playing longer, we've all got stronger artistic visions, and it was harder to find unity.
Right.
Because there was a broad range of stylistic wants, and people were digging their heels into their own thing a little bit more.
Okay, yeah.
I think we ended up doing well at the end, but there was definitely a little bit of a feeling that we all had different ways of how it was supposed to be.
Yeah. I remember you saying something about some of them were very premisey.
Yeah.
One day, I forget which day it was. My group was a bit of a mix. We probably had a more international group. Well, although you had Mariam and Tarjay and Akbar. Yeah, that's probably not fair to say that. But we certainly had a mix of people in ours.
Yeah.
But they were very nice. Didn't seem as much into premises stuff. But because first week I was wondering if we were bonding that well, because we didn't do that much socially together, but we seemed to come together. And then yesterday we had the shows.
Nice.
How did you feel the show went?
I thought our shows were both really solid.
Yeah.
Actually, they were good.
Yeah, there were a few people from your section seemed a bit fed up with the show, which I thought was a bit... I mean, I don't know what you've been doing in class, so it's a bit hard to judge, you know.
Yeah. We sort of ended up at a point where 9 of us wanted to kind of play in a nice IO scene-based organic kind of way, and there were a couple of kind of outliers who really, really dug into their own thing, and I suspect those 2 people were not happy with the show.
Oh, right. Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
But neither of them are bad improvisers. I think it's just the amount of time we've now spent in our respective hometowns and styles kind of showing.
Yeah. I think we had a few up and down days in our group this week. And I think Thursday we all felt pretty worn out and pretty tired. And I think we were struggling to follow Craig's instruction, not because what he said wasn't clear, but we were just, I don't know, our concentration seemed to go. And then yesterday morning I think we did 3, maybe 4 Harolds, and we felt they were all really, really pretty sharp. And then we went for lunch thinking, oh, can we do the show as well? And I made a mental note, sort of, if the show's rubbish, it doesn't really matter because
you found it.
Yeah, we've done some really good stuff this morning, and it's just one show. But then we came out and we just had crazy fun and lots of energy and really attacking it, which was great. So I'm super happy. Because last year I was a bit disappointed with our show. We've kind of, because we talked about doing lots of organic scenes, slow scenes at least at first, and then kind of winding the pace up. Another hand gesture that's lost to audio. But yeah, everybody rushed in doing walk-ons, and we kind of felt we'd missed what we were trying to do. But yeah, this year super happy with it.
Yeah.
So really good way to end. So I'm pretty much packed, and I'm just going to go and enjoy some more shows tonight, and then head off home tomorrow.
Nice. Yeah, I'm here till Tuesday, but very much the same. I'm just going to enjoy the city.
Yeah.
Which I haven't really up to this point.
That is
besides IO.
Yeah, that is the trouble. You do get rather IO-centric, or you can do if you don't live. I mean, I haven't done anything. I think last time we were talking about doing the architecture tour and didn't, and I thought, I might do it this time. That actually is quite hard to do with the advance, because I think it's only on weekdays now, and we're in class Monday to Friday, whereas the 5-week it's Monday to Thursday. So I'll just have to miss it. But
oh, wow.
I've heard it's good, if anybody fancies that.
Cool.
Yeah. Any particular lessons you're going to take back to London?
I think the game thing I'm going to try and keep ticking over in the back of my brain. Because I historically don't like group games. And I think that might be a way through it for me to find the fun in that. So I'm going to keep that.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to go for the same thing because we do group games with the verbs, and I think it's something I've never really felt that hot about. Whereas there's lots of stuff. I think there's very much going to be a case of all that knowledge permeating into the brain and becoming sort of more natural and second nature. But that would probably be the thing I'm going to take back to London.
Yeah.
I don't have to pick one, so...
No, you can take What's that?
I can take them all, but just for the purposes of the podcast.
Yeah, I think the game one is the one I'm not gonna stop raving about when I get home. I got a couple of really good personal notes for my own playing that I'm gonna keep in the back of my mind.
Yeah,
but I think the game one is the one I'm most excited to share.
Yeah, I am too. I'm really looking forward to doing that. Yeah. I've got a few notes I got as well, though we didn't spend much time on scene stuff this week, but some stuff crops up. So, yeah, here's to some cool games in London then.
Cool.
Right.
And I think that just about wraps it up for our probably last ever episode of Improv London in Chicago.
Yeah.
Unless we both come back and do something else.
I mean, if Stuart wants to pay us.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, if Stuart will cover flights and Airbnb, I'll happily come back, Stuart.
Nice. I want to live in a world where Stuart can afford to do things like that.
Yeah. When Improv London is global, a multi-million-dollar podcast.
I'm enjoying the mental image of Stuart as a mogul.
Although he'd probably want to come in himself.
Minor detail.
Yeah. All right. Shall we sign off?
Anyway, yes. Well, we've been Stephen and Ian, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
I made this.
That's improv!